do we keep our memories after we die? If there's a consciousness after death, do we remember this life? Do we remember all of our experiences, the good, the bad, the things we've done after our bodies die? Now, in the last video, we took a look at near-death experiences and the experiences that people who go through bodily death have had, and they say, yes, there's consciousness after death, according to them, but we'll look at if they retain their memories of this life. We'll also take a look at kind of an opposing view, what a strict materialist, what we might call an atheist might say. Of course, they don't believe there's consciousness after death, and certainly they wouldn't believe that we remember anything about this life after death. There's this kind of state of nothingness that they often talk about. But we'll give a good argument for that they might offer with a strict materialist explanation. And after that, I'll offer perhaps a solution with that materialist perspective that says that perhaps indeed we do remember the things that we lived in this life. We do keep our memories after death. And so we'll examine that. We'll take a look at it. But first, we've got to acknowledge that if we're going to try to come to some measure of truth, right, we've got to also admit that when we ask the question, do we keep our memories after death? The correct answer, right, the most honest answer is we don't know, right? We don't know. We can only speculate. Of course, lots of people have different beliefs. That involves their religion, their faith, things like that. People might have different philosophies, but we can't know, right? We go into the realm of epistemology, of what is knowledge. We can't know if there are memories after death, but we can take a look at a few things that we can experience in this world and try to decide if it's possible that we keep our memories after death. All right, so first we'll take a look at those near-death experiences that we examined before in the previous video. In general, if you've been on YouTube for any amount of time and you're interested in this subject, you've come across stories of near-death experiences. And when the individuals who have these experiences die, they kind of have that experience of floating above their body or some other experiences, there's certainly a consciousness there. And so if you believe those that have had these experiences, they seem very honest most of the time, and they believe that they've experienced these things. They experience consciousness after death. They also report most of the time, to remember fully their entire lives. A lot of times, immediately after floating above their body, right, their body dies, they see themselves, they see people working on them, or they can see their body and wherever it is they died. And there's almost this detachment, right? It's like, oh, look, I died. There's a very detached view, kind of indifference to it, right? Some people say they worry about their family members, if they're going to be okay, things like that. But generally, a lot of the near-death experiences that I read or that you hear about on YouTube, like there's thousands of them, they say that, yeah, they remember their entire life, even while they're floating above their bodies. They remember the things they've done. They remember their entire lives as if they were still in the body, right? And so that's interesting. But there is that report of this weird detachment of it, right? So if you believe the people that have had near-death experiences and you collect that body of knowledge, that data, and analyze it, the grand majority of them say, yes, we keep our memories after death. Now let's take a look at this from a strict materialist point of view. I'll give you an argument that, say, an atheist might give as to why we do not retain our memories after death. Of course, they don't believe that there's consciousness after death, but they give this argument that's relevant to our question today. Do we keep our memories after death? Of course, we believe, for observation, empirical science, that we can tie memory to our biology, our physiology, our brains, our anatomy, right? Our brains are certainly involved in our memory and the memories that we have in this life, everything we've learned, experienced, all kind of stored in this biochemical labyrinth that we call our brain. And we know that our memories are affected when the brain is damaged, right? And so logically, if our brain gets damaged and it affects memories, right, on a regular basis, different parts of the brain responsible for different things, and when certain parts of the brain are damaged, it affects certain areas of our function, and one of those is memory. And so when parts of the brain that affect our memories are damaged, we lose that memory, or we have problems with our memory from then on, right? There's certainly degenerative diseases that affect our memory, simply aging, right? Because it affects our biology, it affects our brain. And because those memories are apparently tied and stored into our brains, some might say that when that system, that organ dies off, decomposes after death, they might say, well, then those memories are gone. In the same way that memories are stored on a computer, right, be it in chips or however memory is stored in a computer, that information is in there. It's in a chip, much as the memories that we have in life are in our brain. And so if you destroy that, the guts of the computer, the insides, the computer chips, everything in there, you destroy the memories that were stored inside that computer. And so many people use this argument to say that since our memories are directly tied to our experiences that are stored in our biological brains, when the brain dies, just like if we were to melt a computer and all its innards, computer chips and everything, we no longer have that memory. The brain dies, it rots away. We no longer have access to those memories. And so a strict materialist might say, for that reason, if in the unknown there is consciousness after death, we would not retain those memories. Of course, I don't think a materialist would say that there is consciousness after death, but I'm just giving you that as an example. So, is there any way around this, right? Is there any way we can use this material explanation of the world, an understanding of physics to, or science, biology, to say that perhaps there's a way that memories could be retained after this body dies off? If any of you have worked with computers for any amount of time, you know that there is that, those chips, the inner workings of a computer that store memories of the data of the computer, right? You want to save a file, saves it to your computer. It's in there somewhere. It's in your computer, stored by some means that I wouldn't be able to explain to you. I'm not a computer guy. But there's also backup systems, right? Many of you are familiar with the cloud, right? Backup systems, right? It's wireless. It kind of goes through the air in this magical way we don't all understand. And it's stored somewhere as a backup, right? In this cloud system. So if you see the universe as following a set of rules, as functioning in a way that's organized, right? We can explain things that way. We can perhaps suggest the idea that perhaps there's some kind of, if you believe in that our consciousness goes on in some sort of spirit or life form after the bodily death, perhaps our memories are backed up on some sort of a heavenly cloud, if you will, right? It's perfect way to word it, in some kind of cloud system that we don't understand, in some spiritual cloud system, right? We're just brainstorming here. And so perhaps there is some kind of backup system in the celestial universe, in heaven, that backs up our memories, right? Those of you who are in the metaphysical community, perhaps you might talk about the Akashic records, right? Kind of this memory of history that's stored somewhere and that can be accessed. And so whether you are whether you're a strict materialist or a spiritual person or a Christian or Hindu, doesn't matter. There's certainly a way that we can explain that perhaps that, yes, there is a way to save our memories after death. So what do you guys think? Do you think that after our body dies, that it is possible to remember our lives and everything that went on in our lives, right? The good and the bad, all those experiences. Do you think we remember things after we die? Let me know in the comments. Also, if you are of a particular faith, let me know what your faith thinks about death, all right? We may think that all Christians think the same, that when you die, there's consciousness. That's not the case. Many Christians believe that you, perhaps there's a heaven or you go somewhere else after you die, right? But many Christians also think that death is a kind of sleep, right? And that there's no consciousness until the second coming of Jesus, right? If you are of an Eastern persuasion of belief, perhaps you believe that that our lives are kind of recycled, whether we come back in some other form or live a number of lives. Transmigration of the soul, right? These are very old ideas. We have different beliefs about death, but even when we look at the world in a materialistic way, we can speculate as to if there's memory after death, if there's consciousness after death. But we have to admit at the beginning of this argument, when we analyze this, that we don't know. But we can speculate, we can talk about it, and because we don't know the answers, it is one of those great questions of life. If you enjoy these questions, if you enjoy discussing these questions and hearing about different perspectives, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Be sure to like this video and share it if you enjoyed it. And let me know in the comments what you think about life after death. As far as our memories go, do we retain our memories after death? Is the materialist argument a good one? Could there be some kind of cloud system that backs up our memories when our brains die off, in the same way that computer information is stored in a cloud system, right? What do you think? Do these near-death experiences that people have, do they offer some kind of valuable, trustworthy data that we can look at and say, yes, there's memories after death of this life? Anyway, let me know what you think. Thank you for watching this video. Be sure to subscribe to this channel on YouTube and follow me on Instagram and TikTok under the same name, all at Handsome Blind Guy. I'll see you, or you'll see me, in a future video.